What's up, Eli? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, we missed you.
I know. I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back. Green, green tonight.
Right now, that was what I was just telling him about. Yeah, and I grabbed
Bulletin board material there.
Ray, I was going to say, you would
Pretty easy for, I would imagine, disrespected our MVP.
Test, test, test. Sounds okay from here, huh?
That's the biggest fear, right?
that's true. Let him get back to his control.
Test, test.
All right. And how about me? I sound good? All right. Shabbat Shalom.
I think so. I think I don't know. He's probably makes a nice government pension. Just like me. You know.
Maybe.
Ozi v'zimratya vayehi lishua. 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 Ozi v'zimratya vayehi lishua.
Ozi v'zimratya vayehili lishua, the words from the Song of the Sea that we read last week. We take that music with us as that song continues in our story of redemption. Shabbat Shalom. It is so wonderful to welcome congregants, guests, everyone joining us online, and everyone joining us in person in the sanctuary. We extend welcome and greetings tonight to one of our Rabbi Emeriti, Rabbi Kuhn, our President Hank Bernstein, who joins us as always. And we also welcome our students from our Introduction to Judaism class who are joining us tonight, and lots of nights, but specifically tonight as we have a Shabbat dinner for them after services, which we're really excited for. Let's be sure that we are praying together as one community tonight. Please turn around, find someone new to greet, and wish them a Shabbat Shalom.
Services. Only one song. So it's like, yeah. Any luck, they'll be in the first half. Yeah, but Saturday is, I think you have to pay. Yeah, no, for sure. That might be. Park in the morning. Yeah. I know. I was thinking of. Oh, really? I'd ask Marge. I mean, I don't want to open up the floodgates and asking, but. Much 5, 6.
Shabbat Shalom. Tonight we welcome Cassidy Layton and Jeremy Lupowitz to lead us in our Shabbat blessings, beginning first with our candle lighting on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And we continue with the Kiddush on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereishit ki hu yom techila lemikraei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'beratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat lechaim.
you. Shabbat Shalom. Did anyone today see Road of Shalom featured on NBC 10? A few of you might have seen it. If not, you can check it out on the news tonight or on their website. We had the chance to speak with them about Judaism and the Super Bowl. In this week's Torah portion, Yitro, Moses' father-in-law, offers advice on setting up a legal system with upper and lower courts. We read in Exodus 18, "You shall seek out from among all the people capable individuals who fear God, trustworthy ones who spill ill-gotten gain. Set them as chiefs among the thousands, chiefs of the hundreds, chiefs of the 50s, and chiefs of the 10s." A lot of reference to chiefs, I know. But wait, there's more. Just a few verses later, eight or so verses later, in Exodus 19, we read, "And Moses went up to God, and Adonai called to him from the mountain, saying, 'Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and declare to the children of Israel, you have seen what I, God, did to the Egyptians, how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to me.'" What a coincidence. Our Torah portion, the Shabbat immediately preceding the Super Bowl, contains references to eagles and chiefs. Now, the chiefs appear in Exodus 18, and the eagles appear in Exodus chapter 19. So there you have it, folks. The Torah is predicting 19 to 18 eagles over the chiefs. But seriously, I don't think it works that way. But how amazing. I don't know, maybe.
No, it's not. We're not sure.
Regardless, how amazing that we can look to our Torah, that we, in all moments, we look to our sacred writings, our Torah, for inspiration. I pray that this Shabbat, we continue to look to our sacred wisdom for meaning in our lives this weekend and beyond. We continue with our Kabbalat Shabbat singing with Lecha Dodi. Yeah?
Nah.
Okay. We'll do something before that.
Page 15.
Page 15, even better. We're having some fun here. Bottom of the page.
Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Pitzchu ranenu v'zameru. Pitzchu ranenu v'zameru. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Pitzchu v'ranenu v'zameru. Pitzchu v'ranenu v'zameru. Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Pitzchu v'ranenu zameru. Ranenu zameru. Ki tov Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto, ki tov Adonai leolam chasto. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Hariyu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Kol haaretz. Kol haaretz.
And now, with the joy of a wedding or the joy of a city heading to the Super Bowl, we continue with Lecha Dodi, pages 20 and 21.
לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נשוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך אורי אורי. אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה.
Please rise.
בואי ושלום עצרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, נקרא כלה, בני שבת לקבלה.
We remain standing as we continue with our call to worship on page 28.
Lai 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 la lai lai la lai 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 la lai lai la lai 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 ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם.
read together on the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim, page 32.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu u'b'komeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam v'avat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta. As we lie down and as we rise up, this joy will last forever. As we lie down and as we rise up, this joy will last forever, forever. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
For inspiration for our Micha Mocha, our prayer describing our people's escape from narrow places, this prayer from a Ukrainian refugee. I am praying for my family to endure this hardship we are going through, but with wisdom to know how to best continue serving those around us. But we are also praying for miracles, that as God meets the physical needs of people, God will also give peace to their soul, and through it all, God's name will be glorified. Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, לא רע תהילות, עושה פלא, לא רע תהילות, עושה פלא. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Moses and the children crossed the sea to sing to you these songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ba'nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh.
Continue on pages 46 and following with our tefillah. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer, Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, נשעני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Continue on page 60 with our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
We take moments now for silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
In a moment, we will continue with our blessing for healing. In this week's Torah portion, when God reveals the Torah to the Israelites on Mount Sinai, the text describes the streaks of lightning, the quake of the mountain, the blast of shofar. Intense drama envelops the people. Yet still, the Israelites connect in closeness with God and with one another. When our world is on fire, our earth quakes, the noise of discord blares. When our lives are shaken, not by revelation of Torah, but by struggle, illness, treatment, waiting for the next test result. When intense drama envelops us, still we have a path to connect in closeness with God and with one another. If you have a loved one in need of healing, mind, body, or spirit, please add that name to the comments or speak it aloud now.
הרופא לשבורי לב ומכבש לעצבותם מונה מספר לכוכבים לכולם שמות יקרא Healer of the broken-hearted Binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are. Hallelujah. 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 Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are. Hallelujah. 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 Anna Elna Refana La Hallelujah.
We can't wait for healing to be complete in order to celebrate, or we just wouldn't celebrate enough. And we have lots to celebrate. And so we think of all in our community worthy of gratitude. What is it as we prepare for the Shehechianu? What is it as we reflect on this past day, this past week? What is it in our lives that might be worthy of gratitude? Perhaps there are some thoughts in the congregation you'd like to share. Does anyone have a simcha, a sacred occasion, a special occasion to yell out? Muriel? It is exciting. Our teenagers are in Washington, D.C. for a weekend of justice work at the Litzhakein Seminar at the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. And they are there learning about justice issues through a Jewish lens and then lobbying our representatives at their offices. And looking forward to a wonderful time of teen community from youth all over the country, and also a wonderful time for the biggest Jewish Super Bowl party in a while. But what an opportunity for our teens. It was great to see them off at 30th Street today. Other ideas for celebration, Susan? Wow, what a relief. Wonderful. Wonderful. Others? There's a lot of green out there. I heard the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. And I'll say one of the things to celebrate really that I love is that we as a congregation find ways to create some paths of holiness, even in the fun of it all. And we've had this Super Bowl tzedakah bet with B'nai Yehuda in congregation or Temple B'nai Yehuda in Kansas City. They're also on the teen weekend, by the way. That should be interesting. And so we've each identified a tzedakah recipient, and I will say what a wonderful opportunity to create a sacred occasion and for all of us to consider giving some tzedakah to their tzedakah, Happy Bottoms, which is a diaper bank in Kansas City, and of course to ours, which is Philly Youth Basketball, which is a wonderful organization that leverages basketball to empower youth, especially youth in under-resourced communities here in our area, to develop potential as students, athletes, and positive leaders. So wonderful causes, wonderful tzedakah, and hopefully lots to celebrate this weekend. So for all of those blessings, we turn to page 344 and continue with the Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyimanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyimanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh.
At the end of last week's Torah portion, having just escaped the tyranny of Egypt, we read about the Amalekites, a tribe that attacked the Israelites from behind just as they had crossed the Sea of Reeds. The reason for the attack from behind, it was seen as so especially despicable by our tradition, is because the most vulnerable members of the Israelite society were the ones placed there, seemingly actually for protection. Too often, we see that refugees, like our own people so long ago, already so vulnerable, are persecuted around the world. The earthquake earlier this week, which devastated Turkey and Syria, was made even worse by the fact that so many Syrians were refugees already, with limited housing and resources. Tonight, we are honored to welcome Philip Weiss, Director of Legal Services for Highest PA, to speak to our congregation. Highest PA, Highest Pennsylvania, was founded in 1882 partly by members of our own Congregation Road of Shalom to assist Eastern European Jews arriving in Philadelphia, like my own family that came here in 1908. My family, like so many others, came here as refugees to escape a wave of pogroms and mass expulsions in the Russian Empire that left hundreds and thousands of Jews homeless. With decreased Jewish immigration to the U.S., Highest Pennsylvania now serves all refugees. And congregations across the country have been partnering with Highest over this last week to lift up the stories of those refugees. Philip Weiss has been an advocate for immigrant rights for over 20 years. In addition to supervising Highest PA's staff of attorneys and paralegals and handling his own caseload, Philip oversees the agent's educational activities. He has presented at professional conferences, trained pro bono lawyers, and provided training to staff at numerous social and legal service agencies. Philip, along with his family, including one of his children, which is down in D.C. right now, apple does not fall far from the tree, working for justice. Philip, along with his family, have been long-time congregants at Road of Shalom, and we are honored to hear from him this evening. Philip. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Rabbi. Thanks. On Monday, November 21st, I went to the Philadelphia Welcome Center in North Philadelphia to welcome the first group of asylum seekers sent by bus from Texas to Philadelphia. When I walked in, young men, women, and children were seated around tables eating a warm meal. The exhaustion in their eyes was obvious. However, I could see some whose shoulders were beginning to relax. For all these individuals and families, this was the first time that they could begin to let their guard down, sensing safety and welcome after what had been weeks, if not months, of a desperate flight and struggle to safety. I could not imagine the difficulties and traumas that they experienced as they made their journey to the U.S. In late November, just before Thanksgiving, Philadelphia began welcoming these first buses of recently arrived asylum seekers. Philadelphia was the latest city to be targeted by the governors of both Texas and Florida, using children and families as political props. As we all saw in the news coverage, Philadelphia joined New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Martha's Vineyard to receive asylum seekers who were being sent north. Most of these individuals were hoping to reunite with family or friends in the Northeast region, but few, if any, were told of the ultimate destination of these buses. The buses directed to Philadelphia arrived at 30th Street Station before daybreak. Despite pleas from the Philadelphia city officials to the Texas authorities for some details regarding the buses, the only information we were able to receive were from local area immigrant rights organizations. With less than 36 hours notice, the Philadelphia Office of Immigrant Affairs, or OIA, was notified by these organizations of the number of buses headed to our city, the number of passengers, their approximate ages, and family composition. Thankfully, OIA and numerous immigrant-serving organizations had been meeting for several months to prepare for the eventual arrival of these buses. We, residents of Philadelphia, can be proud of the work of city officials and non-governmental organizations that dropped everything to ensure that these most recent arrivals to the city of brotherly love were welcomed with respect. Each bus that arrived was welcomed by staff and volunteers of organizations such as the New Sanctuary Movement, or NSM. NSM was there at 30th Street providing warm blankets, food, and a welcoming smile to these individuals. City health officials were also on hand to ensure that anyone needing medical assistance was properly cared for. SEPTA buses then brought the families to the Welcome Center, where these asylum seekers were finally able to get some long-needed rest. Families were provided with clothing, warm meals, and a place to rest. NGOs, such as the Casa de Venezuela, and congregations, such as St. Thomas Aquinas, helped in securing, sorting, and providing these necessities. Other community groups, such as Juntos, worked tirelessly to help connect these individuals with their loved ones and arrange transportation. All the families were also provided a legal orientation so that they could better understand what the next steps would be in their legal immigration proceedings. My organization, Highest Pennsylvania, and our colleagues at the Nationality Service Center worked together to prepare the materials and presentations for each new bus. The vast majority of these individuals left for New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and other destinations in the region by the end of the day. As of today, Philadelphia has welcomed over 19 buses and 838 asylum seekers. However, the numbers are not what is most important. What is important is the fact that each young child, each single mother, each man was welcomed with a smile, with care, and with understanding. In short, each asylum seeker was welcomed as a human being, a neighbor. Despite the success of Philadelphia's initial response, there are serious issues which these newest arrivals will face, and how we, as a community, respond to these challenges is yet to be seen. Some of the new arrivals have decided to stay here in Philadelphia. After finding that the friend or family member they were hoping would welcome them proved unable to help, they have decided to try to make Philly their new home. The challenges these new arrivals face are enormous. Affordable housing, along a crisis in the city, is not surprisingly very difficult to find. These individuals will also be challenged by the fact that our immigration laws prohibit them from working legally for at least the first year of their arrival to the U.S. while they fight their deportation and seek asylum before the immigration courts. This process is made all the more challenging by the lack of legal representation. While Highest PA and NSC and other smaller organizations will represent some of these individuals, we simply do not have the staffing needed to provide representation to all of the new arrivals, many of whom will have to navigate these complicated systems on their own in a language they do not know. Pundits, politicians, and media outlets cite these challenges and call it a migrant crisis. Politicians decry open borders and an invasion, and both sides of the aisle are now embracing tactics that only a few short years ago we were protesting against. Sadly, the mantra of "there are just too many" has been widely embraced by many in our community. To turn our backs on the young men, women, and children arriving at the Welcome Center, however, is something we simply cannot do. We cannot allow ourselves to shrug and say, "How can we help everyone?" While I acknowledge the challenges are enormous and there is no easy solution, our faith and our history prohibit us from such a response. My mother was 6 years old when World War II broke out. She was living in Paris with her twin sister, maternal grandfather, and her mother, who had been abandoned by her husband when he went to fight in the Spanish Civil War. My mother and her sister survived, living in hiding, thanks to organizations which hid Jewish children in orphanages. My grandmother survived as well. My great-grandfather, Lassar Silberman, did not. On September 14, 1942, he was rounded up and deported to Drancy and ultimately Auschwitz, where he was murdered. Fast forward less than 2 decades, and my mother is now a single mother of 3 young children from her first marriage. In the early 1960s, she found herself in New York City with an abusive husband. One morning, when he had left for work, she picked up her kids and fled to Dallas, Texas. A single mother with 3 little children and a heavy accent, she tried to find an apartment in the new city she randomly chosen when she was planning her escape. Every door she knocked on was slammed in her face. No one was going to rent an apartment to an immigrant single mother. In response, my mother took her children to the local newspaper and calmly said, "I need a place to stay." When the employees at the paper told her that this was not their business, she sat down and politely told them that they had a list of apartments in their classified section, and therefore they could certainly find a place that would rent to her. Seeing 3 young children who were ready to cause quite a disruption in the newsroom, they quickly found my mother a place to live. When I sit down to speak with a young single mother in the Welcome Center or in my office, I look into her eyes and see my mother. Rabbi Friedman's Talit is inscribed with the words from Pirkei Avot. It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. It is this teaching which I turn to when asked by those who say there are too many immigrants. We can't help everyone. While the challenge is enormous, that response is too simple, and more importantly, contrary to who we are as Jews. We must stop fixating on the numbers. We must look into the eyes of the asylum seeker in front of us. In the early part of the civil war in Syria, the press reported on the horrors of the war and the staggering numbers of displaced persons and refugees created by the war. Many were quick to say, "What can we possibly do? There are too many." This response changed, if only briefly, when the body of the 2-year-old boy, Alan Kurdi, washed up on a beach in Turkey. When we as a community saw the lifeless, young body of that child and imagined the anguish of his father, the only survivor from the family, we stopped looking at the numbers and saw the individual. Some governments and communities stepped up and provided welcome to many of these refugees. It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. Today again, we are fixated by the numbers and ignore the individual. We shrug our shoulders and say we cannot possibly fix the world's problems. On January 6th, the Biden administration announced that they would extend Title 42. The Trump administration's cunning use of a health-related statute to accomplish the unrelated but clearly stated goal of keeping out all new immigrants, regardless of our obligations under existing U.S. law. This decision was made despite the fact that the Biden administration had, on paper at least, previously sought to end Title 42. The current administration and some of its allies believe that this is the only possible response to save their political skins. Unfortunately, those who support such policies lack the courage and will to defend the rights of asylum seekers. What is political asylum? Coming out of the horrors of the Holocaust, the U.S. and other countries recognized that a system was needed to protect individuals when their own countries seek to persecute them. The right to seek asylum is enshrined in 2 international treaties to which the U.S. is a signatory. These asylum protections define a refugee as a person who is unable or unwilling to return to their home country and cannot obtain protection in that country due to past persecution or a well-founded fear of future persecution on account of race, religion, nationality, particular social group, or political opinion. Congress incorporated this definition into U.S. law through the U.S. Refugee Act of 1980. The Refugee Act is meant to ensure that individuals who seek asylum from within the U.S. or at its border are not sent back to places where they face persecution. Let me repeat. Individuals who fear persecution have a right enshrined in U.S. law to seek asylum protections in the U.S. The law prohibits the U.S. government from returning anyone who presents themselves at the border and expresses a fear of return to their home country without giving them the opportunity to apply for asylum protections. The prior administration made it clear that they sought to dismantle these half-a-century-old protections in U.S. law. Unfortunately, despite the promises of the current administration to protect these rights, they remain under attack. Under new regulations, individuals from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti who attempt to assert their rights as asylum seekers at the border will be automatically expelled from the U.S. and returned to Mexico. The solution proposed by the administration is to allow up to 30,000 migrants a month from these countries to enter the U.S., but they must meet several stringent requirements. I would like to highlight two of them. First, individuals are ineligible if they crossed irregularly into the U.S. or Mexico after the announcement of the program. Second, they must find a financial sponsor in the U.S. and complete an online application. While this process may in fact help some individuals, let us remember who we are talking about. The individuals arriving at our borders are asylum seekers, fleeing for their life and looking for safety and security for their children. How many among them will have the necessary support to find a financial sponsor in the U.S. and then complete a rigorous and complicated online application process? Further evidence that this policy is nothing more than window dressing to cover up an inhumane and illegal process is the benefit those individuals who successfully enter the U.S. through this program will receive. Successful applicants under this miserly and unlawful program will only be given a 2-year period of authorized stay in the U.S. After this time, these individuals and families will face deportation. Whereas someone granted asylum can thereafter seek lawful permanent residency or a green card and ultimately citizenship, these new arrivals receive no other guaranteed protections beyond their first 2 years in the country. This is hardly an equal remedy for those who see no other choice but to flee for their lives. This is no solution at all. The protagonist in the moving novel Go Went Gone by German author Jenny Erpenbeck reflects, "Must living in peace, so fervently wished for throughout human history and yet enjoyed in only a few parts of the world, inevitably result in refusing to share it with those seeking refuge, defending it instead so aggressively that it almost looks like war? Of course, what we are doing at our borders has long ago passed from just looking like war. Our society has fully embraced the language of war when we discuss migration. Look at the barbed wire, the immigration officials on horseback, and the bodies of asylum seekers found along the border. We can do better. We must do better. It is not our duty to finish the work, but neither are we at liberty to neglect it. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks.
Philip, thank you so much for those powerful words, both personal but also so universal that I think so many of us relate to. And that beautiful Torah of those words in my talit, Lo alecha hamlaha ligmor, that it is not up to any one of us, but every single one of us has an obligation to do the work. Thank you. With those same words, that it is upon us, we turn to Aleinu, literally, it is upon us, on page 282. As I open the ark, you'll notice, please rise, and you'll notice that our Torah scrolls may look a little different. There is actually one scroll that is out for repair. And as many of you know, we are embarking this year on a wonderful project of repairing our Torah scrolls. There's lots of information in the service program, and one of our scrolls is out for repair now, and we have in its place this beautiful scroll that we have from the Holocaust, a time that, of course, we remember when our people were refugees as well. Page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Words of the refugee and World War II resistance fighter Chana Senesh. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This week, our congregation observes Yahrzeit for the following people on whose shoulders we stand: Harold Abrams, Lila Oliver Asher, Rose Augsburger, Herbert Barg, Lena Schwartzman Bass, Rosalie Bauer, Rabbi Henry Berkowitz, Leon Blankensee, Betty S. Broad, Anna Brooks, Millie Bergauer, Gertrude Weisfield Cantor, Roy Citron, Emily Curley, Robert Cohen, Adam Kornfeld, Laura F. Edelman, Martin Eisenberg, Morris Feinberg, Nancy Moss Fine, Aline Fish, Jerome Fisher, Jenny W. Gable, Robert Goldberg, Eddie Ann Goldberg, Charles A. Strauss Goldberg, Seymour I. Gottlieb, Martin H. Gabrowski, Harriet Grass, Flora R. Greenwald, Rose H. Grill, Sarah Hertz, Sadie Blatt Hess, David D. Hyman, Clara Indig, Pauline Jacobs Bendinger, Sheila Johnson, Adolph Castor, Sarah Pollock Kaufman, Ethel Christousef, Lucille Trishon Kogan, Barbara Jacobs Kuhn, Louis Learfeld, Joseph Levy, Lucille G. Long, Hannah Lowenstein Greenwald, Celeste Greenberg, Makeover, Harriet Leipziger Mayer, Laura Meyerson, Michael Miller, Samuel Morris, Nathan Ablon, Justin Perlman, Mindy Pepper, Earl Pilot, Sidney Robert Poles, Rose Polsky, Eleanor Present, Leonard Michael Proper, Bernard L. Reese, Samuel Rose, Ruth Rosenau, Lenora Roth, Susan K. Ruberg, Emmanuel Sachs, Lee J. Salzman, Fanny G. Sanders, Beatrice Safran Siegel, Benjamin Pincus Seltzer, Mark Morris Shapiro, Sarah Harrison Shapiro, Judith Bryn Sharp, Scott Allen Sickles, George Joseph Silverman, Milton Fells Simon, Frida Sinsheimer, Morton Slapin, Anna Mark Smuckler, Samuel S. Stein, Jane Sterling Stern, Daniel Tiffany, Maxwell E. Verlin, Louis D. Watnick, Roy Z. Weintraub, Hilda Weisenfeld. We add the names of those who have been taken from our midst, but not from our hearts, in these most recent days, for whom we observe Shloshim. Alvin Block, Naomi Bremen, Phyllis Claire Rogers Friedenberg, Diana Curry, Kiki Bloomberg Kahn, Phyllis London, Doris Ann Mates, Frederick Meisel, Mickey Simon. And if you are observing Yartzeit or Shloshim for a loved one whose name I did not call, please feel free to add that name to the comments or call it out now. Together we honor their memories as, turning to page 294, we rise for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring comfort to the bereaved and peace to each of you. And together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen.
We wish you a Shabbat Shalom and invite you, if this is your first time at Road of Shalom, to please be sure to meet Stephen Scher, our membership manager, or Neve Barlow, our membership support, and they're waving from the back of the sanctuary at you, so you know exactly who to say hello to. Thank you, Stephen and Nave. And now there is a song that must be sung, along with our brothers and sisters and siblings from our Jewish communities across the Philadelphia region. We turn in our programs to page 4.
Ufu nisharim baderech lenitzachon, rivu nisharim לתouchdown yesh ratzon, לרגליים לכתפיים בראות הנשארים, עופו נשארים בדרך לניצחון. Nun shin reish yud mem nisharim. Fly, eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fight, eagles, fight. Score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our eagles fly. Fly, eagles, fly on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Dear God, Does it feel good to be in Philadelphia right now? Everyone is in a good mood. The poles are greased.
Schmaltz.
Or, as you might say, the poles are schmaltzed. And there is such excitement in the air. No doubt, Broad Street will overflow with fans on Sunday night and again on Thursday for the parade. Next month, once the season has ended, God, help us keep our passion ignited. Guide us to bring that passion to prayer, to the study of Torah, and to acts of loving kindness. And when we have ensured safety and dignity for the refugee, and when we have put an end to war, transphobia, racism, anti-Semitism, poverty, gun violence, when we cure AIDS, when we properly fund our schools, when we care for all of those with mental illness, and when we devote ourselves to preserving this earth, and when we discover how to see the divine in the eyes of every human being, then too, may we overflow Broad Street to celebrate your holy name.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha
May God bless us and keep us.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka
May the light of God's Spirit shine upon us and through us.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom
May God's presence be with us and bring us peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.